Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to a new video with a different type of format. Because today we are talking about what if I was in One Piece. So the first few things you might be wondering is my backstory, Devil Fruit, and if I am a marine, pirate, bounty hunter, or revolutionary. But those will come throughout the story and throughout the series in general. Most of those are already sorted out. Ones that are not sorted out are my final role, like Marine, Pirate, Bounty Hunter, Revolutionary, and my backstory. So yeah. So also I give myself in the story I give myself two chances to either be OP, as in not in a way like, oh, you're now Shanks level or Whitebeard level. No, I can't do that. Like I magically become Whitebeard level. I cannot do that. Or have a title. By OP I mean like maybe give myself a good devil fruit. Or give myself a powerful weapon. So that's essentially what I mean by OP. Or you can take it as have a title that is feared / revered, like Pirate King. Also, let me give you a brief description of me. I am known as, or at least my character, not my actual, this is not my real name. I wish it was. I am known as Ken Blaze. I train in the dojo that Kuina and Zoro train in, and I am known as the second strongest in that dojo. But not anymore. Maybe I am the strongest now. No, that's all that intro.
1, 2, 3, come on!
This starts when Zoro and Kuina are sword fighting again for like the 2000th and something time. People around me are murmuring words like, does Zoro think he can win? This is like the 2000th time he's done this. Obviously, probably hyperbole. What an idiot, and more. After Kuina beats Zoro, I get up. From now on, I will refer to myself in third person. Ken then goes up to Kuina and says, I want to take the title of strongest. Kuina accepts this as a request to battle. Keep in mind, they're about the same age here. Right? They both get two swords and get in their fighting positions. They then charge at each other, entering a sword bout, with neither of them using their second sword. Kuina then attempts to hit Ken as he blocks it. Then she uses her second sword to apply more force. While she's pushing down, Ken dodges, goes behind her, and points both swords at her head. Ken then says, I guess this means I'm officially the strongest. Zoro then walks out of the dojo, looking quite annoyed. Ken sees him and decides to go talk to him. He tells Zoro that he can train him, and Zoro screams at him, saying that he can train on his own and become the strongest swordsman ever. Of course, the next day, Kuina dies, and Ken, he really doesn't cry. In fact, the only thing Ken thinks after this is, I lost my rival. That's quite literally it. Ken then decides to drop out of the dojo and train on his own. He goes out to a small sword shop and he sees a sword on the wall. Then he asks the sword seller, or the seller, what sword it is. It is the old Wazamono Great Sword, known as Dawn. It is worth 20,000 berries, so that's how much you have to pay. Ken is shocked and says, okay, while looking at other swords. He picks up an unranked sword known as Kirai. It's worth 100 berries, so he buys it. The seller apparently says that it's a pretty weak and feeble sword. He hides it from the seller. He hides the sword, but he hides himself from the seller. And when the seller isn't looking, Ken steals Dawn from the shop. It looks like a normal katana, but when he unsheathes it, it has a small fire emblem going down the blade, the silver blade. The guard is also pretty cross-like. He goes to the forest and begins his training. He then leaves the village some years later. Occasionally, he sees Zoro and other pirates. One day, he arrives at the town that Zoro is in while he's pinned on the cross. He watches Zoro suffer for a few days without Zoro noticing. He remembers who he is. Ken remembers who Zoro is and decides to act. Before he acts, though, a boy starts talking to him. Hey, what are you doing? He then looks at this person. It is a boy with a wide smile, lanky body, scar under his right eye, and a straw hat. This kid then says, I guess I should introduce myself. I am Luffy. Then Ken immediately disappears from Luffy's sight, and Luffy feels a sword aimed at his neck. And then Kobe freaks out while Ken says, that hat is from the Pirate King, Gold Roger, meaning you must be a pirate. He then says with a death stare, Pirate Hunter, Ken Blaze at your service. Luffy smiles while sweating. I will become Pirate King, and you won't end that goal. Ken then closes his eyes and says, I guess you won't come quietly. Zoro then sees a small explosion right outside the walls, if you can even call it an explosion. Let's call it a smoke cloud. But this bout that they seem to have had actually breaks the wall. Zoro then sees Ken holding Luffy at sword point, with Kobe passed out next to them. Ken then looks at Kobe and says, sorry, child. Zoro recognizes him, but it doesn't really matter at this point. The Marines come out of their building and point their guns at Ken as they see a passed out Luffy and Kobe. They're about to fire before they notice that their guns are sliced. As soon as they notice that, they realize they can't feel anything as their heads fall to the ground. Ken then gets up and looks at Zoro and says, answer one question. Why are you here? Zoro then says nothing. Just says, nothing, just corruption. Ken then has a deathly look on his face and says, that's enough info for me. Ken then disappears and arrives in 5 to 10 seconds while holding Morgan by the neck. Ken then looks in his eyes, making him foam from the mouth and pass out just because of the insane amount of bloodlust being projected on him. Ken drops him and looks behind him and sees Luffy getting an attack ready. Are you finally going to attempt to hit me? Luffy smiles and screams, Gomu Gomu no! Ken gets information and calmly says, one sword style. Luffy then screams, Gatling! While Ken says, Wyvern Killer, as he unleashes a massive barrage of sword slices while charging at Luffy. While Luffy himself unloads a barrage of punches. Luffy's hands get cut a lot, and when Ken gets close to Luffy, he gives him a giant 8-pointed scar across his chest, even bigger than the original one he has. Ken then raises the arm that he's using to hold a sword, which is his right arm, and wipes blood away from his face. Ken then says, one hit, impressive. Ken then goes up to a sweating Zoro, cuts off the ropes clinking him to the cross, hands him his swords, and disappears. Zoro goes to tend to Luffy, showing his caring attitude. The reason why he didn't get Luffy to the Marines now will be explained later, when we need to talk about his character more. A few hours later, Luffy wakes up and doesn't even care about Ken and what he did to him, and he still ends up getting Zoro on the crew as they get on the ship. But as they get on the ship, Ken watches from the distance, which Zoro can feel because of the bloodlust. We then close up to Ken's red, scarred eye and as he says, I thought I wouldn't need to kill you, but because you are not a pirate, the next time we meet, you will die by my blades. Zoro then tries to find Ken as he disappears. Now, that is going to be the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Also, let me explain some things. First of all, I will be adding some new characters to add some more depth to the story. For example, actually, no, I'm not going to give an example. Also, I literally have not used any of my OP chances. Okay, so, yes. Also, how can I beat Luffy? Let's power scale for a bit. In East Blue, Luffy and Zoro are comparable. I mean, in the other, when Zoro gets Sunset in the Sky, then I think he's gonna beat Luffy in that situation, but hey. And my character has always been better than Zoro, even since childhood, and I've been training more than him. Also, Luffy has an inherent weakness to swords. as he is made out of rubber, and any blunt damage done to him will do nothing, but any sharp edge damage done to him, like damage done by swords, will cut right through him, right? And I'm a swordsman, so yeah. But yes, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and yeah. Peace out. This is a long video, but yeah. Bye-bye.